Welcome back to another video, and today we're checking out the Isuzu MU-X. Now this is a reliable, rugged, large family 7-seater. Let's see what it has to offer. Okay, so why would somebody want to get an Isuzu? Well, firstly, because of the name. It's reliable, it's rugged, it's going to get you anywhere you need to go. But secondly, why would they get an MU-X? So that's because they want everything that an Isuzu has to offer that you would have got from all of their buckies, but now you're getting it in a closed form, in the form of an SUV, but that can seat 7 people. So here I've got the top of the range Onyx version. It seats 7 people. You've got quite a bit of luxurious touches, but it is lacking in some other ways, which we'll get into. Now, starting off with what's powering this MU-X. So under the bonnet, you've got a 3-litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine, putting out 140 kilowatts and 450 Newton meters of torque. Now, that's not a lot compared to its competitors. I think in the segment, you need to be looking at a minimum of 500 Newton meters of torque and at least 150 kilowatts, but that's not the case here. But I'm pleased to announce, or to let you guys know, that that little lack of power isn't really noticed in my opinion. So when you put your foot down, the 6-speed automatic transmission is quite quick in knowing what it needs to do, and when you're on the fly and you're going, the car seems to hold its power nicely and you don't really feel how heavy it actually is. But compared to its competitors, it is lacking in power, as I mentioned, because if you're looking at getting the likes of the Ford Everest in its 2-litre bi-turbo configuration, which is similarly priced to this, then you're looking at power numbers of about 154 kilowatts and 500 Newton meters of torque. Or if you look at the Toyota Fortuner, which is cheaper than both of those that I've just mentioned now, you're then getting the 2.8-litre GD6 engine, which is also a 4-cylinder. Don't get thrown off by the GD6, but for that one you're getting 150 kilowatts and 500 Newton meters of torque. So it's a little bit down in power from its competitors, but let's see what it has to offer in compared to them too. Don't know why I'm doing this, sorry. Now looking at this top of the range Onyx version, you are getting quite a few cool driver safety features like adaptive cruise control. You've also got lane keep assist, you've got lane centering, you've also got rear cross traffic alert, you've got forward collision warning, which maybe works a little bit too well because it beeps at you quite often. I was in a situation where I was going around a bend, but it picked up a sign on the road and thought that that was oncoming traffic or pedestrian, and it just beeped and went crazy. But unfortunately, that is what it is. You also can't really adjust the sensitivity of it in the system here, but I think that's okay. But with all of those safety features in this car, I think that that's pretty good. But then looking at the rest of the interior, the driver has got a traditional driver's display here, so that's not fully digital. You've only got a little screen in the middle. Otherwise, you've got the 2 traditional dials for your revs and your speed. But in that little screen, you're able to look at your trip computer. You can look at also the lane keep assist and all of that stuff. All of the traditional things you would do from a little small trip computer screen on the dashboard. You do also have a 9-inch infotainment over here, which does have wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. It's okay. It's a little bit slow. I think it does what it needs to. And if you're using Apple CarPlay and the reverse camera, that's really all that you need it for, because that's all it's really good at. And then looking down the center console here, you have got dual zone climate control. They have separated this so it's not part of the infotainment, which is always a great thing in my book. It's always going to be a pass there because it's easy to use. You have got a few USBs dotted around the interior as well, but they're just traditional type A. There's no USB type C in here. There's also no wireless phone charging. So not only are you not getting the most modern USBs, but you are not able to charge your phone via a wireless charging pad either. Now, I did mention this is a 6-speed auto, so you'll find that in the center over here. And then you've also got some buttons for your off-roading and to kind of just control the car, from your stability control to being able to turn off your park sensors if you need them off. If you may be carrying a trailer, you can then turn them off quite easily over there, as well as your downhill descent control. And this is also the one that you can also adjust the speed, so you can also go quite slowly, and you can also decide what speed you want to go at when you are going or using this downhill control assist. This MU-X has also got a rear diff lock, which you can also go and engage quite quickly just by using the button over here. And you've got a rotary dial to adjust how you want this car to be off-road. So you can change it from 2 high to 4 high on the fly. You can do all of that while you're driving. It does also have a proper low range gearbox and transfer case. But to get into, but to get into that, you do have to go into neutral, adjust it, and then you can carry on with your driving. Now, something that this car does do quite well is practicality. So you've got a whole bunch of storage in this car, from place for your sunglasses up top here to there being some storage down here, only because there's no wireless charger, but then you can use it to store some stuff. One of my favorite features is that it does have a split glove box. So you've got one above the standard one, which is quite cool, and then you've obviously got your standard glove box or cubby hole right underneath that. It is quite a small one, but nonetheless there is still one over there. The door bins are also quite okay size. You can fit a nice 500ml water bottle there if you need to. And then moving to the rear, you are able to seat 3 adults quite easily. There's a lot of leg room. There's also a lot of practicality in the sense that you can move the seats backwards and forwards. They do have their own fans, which they can adjust from the air vents in the roof there, and they do have a 220 volt socket. So we'll say that's going to make up for the fact that there's no USB Type-C, but next to that they've also got 2 traditional USB Type-A's. And then what makes this MU-X quite special is the fact that it does have 2 additional seats in the rear, making this a 7-seater. So when they are up, you are able to use them for small kids or small people for short journeys or longer journeys if it is just children. It is quite comfortable back there, but if you don't need it, you can also put them flat, giving you a very, very large boot. And then looking at the comfort and how this car is like to drive, I've already spoken about its performance and how it drives from that point of view, but it is quite comfortable. You do sit quite comfortably in these seats, and there is quite a bit of adjustment too. The seats are also electronically adjustable, so you've got electronic lumbar support, and you're able to move the seats backwards and forwards and slanted forwards and backwards as well. So that's quite nice. Now, unfortunately, there isn't any settings to save the different driver positions, unfortunately. So if you, oh, there's picking up a motorbike. So if you do happen to change the seat settings, just know that if someone else gets in, they might change it to theirs and you aren't able to save it. And apart from the additional secret storage, which is the second cubby hole, you do also have another 2 drinks holders. And just like some other cars, they are hidden just underneath the aircon vents. So if you press, or not press, yeah, you press it, it bounces open and you are able to store your drink right in front of the aircon to keep it cool on long distances. And then looking at the layout and the materials used, in some aspects I'm quite impressed, but with others I'm a little bit let down. So for instance, the dashboard is wrapped in soft touch material with some stitching, but then again on the doors there's nothing. So it's just hard scratchy plastics right up here where you'd put your arm or where you'd feel, somewhere where it probably should be a little bit softer and maybe have some nicer vinyl or leather there. But you do find that going down the center console, they've wrapped that in the soft material with some stitching. And then on the inside of the doors here, you've then got that same material and some quite soft spaces for your elbows to kind of lay there while you drive. And then looking in the middle here, you do have some storage and again some soft touch materials for your elbows. So you do find yourself to be in quite a comfortable driving position, especially with the leather steering wheel and your elbows sitting on some nice materials, which is really nice and comfortable for some long trips. But if you are buying this car to go off-road and to take it off the beaten track, then I don't think you'll be disappointed. You've got heaps of ground clearance. You do have some metal scratch plates underneath, especially in the front there. And as mentioned, you do have the different modes here for your 2 high, 4 low, and everything you need, especially locking your diffs. I don't think you're going to have any issues going off-road. Just remember to turn off your sensors because they're going to drive you nuts. Something that I have found pretty useless on this car, which shouldn't probably be here, are paddle shifters, because not only are they really small, but they also really don't do much. So when you do push the gearbox here into manual, which you can do, these things are so delayed. So I'm going to drop a gear, drop, there it's dropped. Up a gear, there it's changed. There's far too much of a delay here to even start to remotely enjoy them for what they are actually there for. But what is great is that the interior is just full leather. So you've got comfortable seats, you've got some really nice leather material used here, you've got contrast stitching, so it does add to the premiumness that you are paying for this car when looking at the interior and the seats that you're meant to spend most of your time in while driving for all your passengers. Now, I know I've alluded to the pricing and what you'd pay for this car throughout the video, but if you are wanting to get into an Onyx version within the range, that's going to set you back 978,000 Rand, which I think is quite a lot of money, especially looking at what you are getting for that. But then again, you do need to look at the brand you're buying into from a reliability point of view as well as from a safety point of view. But if you don't want this one and just want to get into the standard MU-X, which is a 1.9 litre turbo diesel, that's going to set you back 736,000 Rand. And then onto the design, and I feel like this is a pretty good looking SUV. I do feel like the Everest looks a bit nicer and more modern in my opinion, but I don't think that this Isuzu is far off from that. So you've got some good looking lights up front, you've got daytime running lights, a grille that's also not overly big, but I think the proportions are quite nice. And then from a side profile point of view, I think it also looks really good. It looks big, it looks mean, it's got a lot of road presence. And then from the rear, that's my least favorite angle of this MU-X. I don't know if it's because of the flatness of it, because there's no like handles or lights, or I don't know what the thing is. Just something is not vibing with me about the rear of it. But other than that, it's a good looking SUV. You've got some nice looking wheels, and I think it does still look good and quite modern amongst the other cars in this category today. Now, if you're in the market for an Isuzu MU-X or any Isuzu for that matter, then go check one out on ChangeCars.co.za. They're a website that sells new and used cars, but the best thing about them is that they vet and check every single dealership that sells cars on their website, so they're always in control of the quality of cars that you're buying as a customer. Their website is also a hub for everything automotive, so you can go and watch car reviews, you can read articles, you can even go and get motoring advice. You can also go and look at financial things, like going to see what you can afford per month with their finance calculator, and you can bring forward collision warning. That's what it does, and it blinks red lights at you in the front there, and it gets you all the time. You can also bring them quotes for cars that are being sold from dealerships that aren't on ChangeCars, and not only will they match the quote, but they'll beat it too. So go check out ChangeCars.co.za. They've got a lot to offer, and their website is pretty cool. They're also a proud partner of Greg Dennis Reviews. And then onto the verdict in the form of the GDR test. Should you get it, drive it, or remove it from the list of cars that you're looking at? Now, I would go and drive it. I feel like the MU-X has got a very specific customer that they're selling to. It's someone that's looking for reliability, trustworthiness. It can go anywhere. You've got the ground clearance to do all the off-roading you need. It's got all the capabilities that you need. It's got just enough tech and safety systems in here for someone not to get too confused about how things work. But then on the other hand, there are cars like the brand new Everest, which is filled with tech. It's got more power. It probably looks a lot nicer too, in my opinion. And then you've also got the tried and trusted Toyota Fortuner, which I don't have to speak to any further than that because people just love them. So it's a very contested category. This car is lacking in some aspects, but it's also really good in some others. It's also a little bit noisy, which I felt like its competitors are a little bit quieter when you put your foot down. So I do feel like if you are wanting to get into an adventure-seeking family 7-seater like this, then I think you need to do your homework because there's a lot of options out there. But then there's also the rogue options, like going Indian. I mean, think about the Mahindra. There's 2 options you can choose from there that are also 7-seaters that are half the price of this. Yeah. So thanks for watching another Greg Dennis review. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you learned a little bit more about the Isuzu MU-X. And if you did, please will you drop a like below. And if you want to see more videos like this and other car related content, then please subscribe. And until then, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.